Hello traders at CMC Markets. Welcome to another update from RRG Research. My name is Trevor Neil and I'm an analyst here at RRG, and this update is for Friday the 12th of April 2024. We're going to start with a top-down look at the asset classes and a weekly sampling, so a long-term view. But we've got some strong trends going on here, but they're changing. So what furthest on the right, so on a relative basis versus the MSCI World, we've got the S&P and the QQQ, which says the Nasdaq. But both of them are pointing downwards, and the Nasdaq is pointing downwards and westwards. So overall, as a group, this is looking more weakening in its outperformance that we've got, and we've seen that in many of the shares, of course, as you would imagine. The European shares are looking good, heading in the right direction. Gold, very strong indeed. We like gold very much. And then in the crowding the lagging quadrant is the interest rate funds. And so this idea that interest rates are not coming down as early as expected, and that inflation is stubborn, etc., is really showing itself in there. And then up here, improving quadrant and making a good long tail here in it, and gradually moving towards a good, very good direction is the commodity index, commodities as a group. I'm going to look later at gold and also Brent crude oil. It's a bit early to get excited, but I'm beginning to get excited. You can probably see that I'm beginning to get excited, but I'll get much more excited if it can move around here and turn more northeasterly in direction. This is a relative rotation graph of the Magnificent 7 stocks. I've rebased this against the Nasdaq rather than against the S&P. Actually, there isn't too much difference. Just the current messages are slightly emphasized when you use the benchmark, the point in the middle being the Nasdaq. So these are the stocks outperforming the Nasdaq on a relative basis, and these are the ones that are underperforming it in a relative basis. The furthest to the right, the two furthest to right, are Nvidia and Meta, which you can see slight loss of edge, and on them they're not pointing northeasterly, but they're far to the east. They're just strong and have weakened a little bit. Amazon looks interesting because it is heading northeasterly. It's not so far to the right, but so it's not as relatively strong. And then Google is interesting because it's moved from the lagging quadrant into the improving quadrant, and this may bode well for it continuing to advance very strongly and more strongly than others. Tesla and Apple both hanging back in there, Microsoft correlating with the Nasdaq itself. We're going to start with Nvidia, which as you remember is furthest on the right on the RRG, telling us what we already know. It's the strongest thing out there. It's hooked around on the RRG, so it's first on the right but turned down, and this is reflecting this behavior here, where having made new highs twice, probed up into this high here at 970 area, it's now ranging, supported by the previous new high, which was at 822, and it's zigzagging inside that range there. Now it just came down to the bottom of the range, and this MACD here trading down, reflecting this behavior here, and actually a bearish divergence in here, but I think this is over now. The MACD is moving towards its signal line, and the RSI has come up, having gone down through to 35 twice here, actually with a bullish divergence here, low, low, higher low. Also on the right in the RRG graph of the Magnificent 7 is Meta, and here we see it at highs, but just edged off very slightly and having lost momentum. We've seen that here with the MACD generally moving downwards during this rising price period. However, this may have come to an end now, and this may be ready to make another leg higher, concerted leg higher. We've got an up channel here after the big gap. We've moved up channel. I put this top line as dash because we've only got 2 points on it, but clearly that is how we're oscillating. We've just come down to, if you like, the imaginary midpoint of it and then bounced up. The MACD turned up here. The RSI has turned up again through 65 from below. We've talked about Amazon and the attack on its 2021 highs from November and July, and here we are at it now. Technically we've broken through it, so here we are 4 years later. Amazon is making a new high, lagging the rest, but still joining that exclusive club within the exclusive club of the Magnificent Seven that are actually at new all-time highs. Some of the exclusive club of Magnificent Seven are pretty weak. So we got the momentum is strong at this, that's the all-time high there that we just edged through. The momentum, we can see the MACD, the gap is widening here, so it's approaching it with increasing momentum. That gives you the idea that it's going to hold, break and hold above it. Here's the RSI. It broke the downtrend line, the long downtrend line that it had, that we were talking about would be a trigger, so we've broken that now. That was actually back here. The direction is up and strongly, and this one is looking good. So this one, despite its position in the RRG, is joining the exclusive club, and it should do very well in the short term and should get an injection of bullishness at this very point. Now Google is at all-time highs, but has been on a relative basis lagging, but it's moved very swiftly and impressively on the RRG from the lagging quadrant to the improving quadrant, close to the benchmark, but doing so. We're getting another impetus of bullishness. We see it in the MACD, which was starting to narrow as we paused here, and it's breaking out. I think it's on its way up. The RSI, we can see it's turned back up again through 65 from below. That's another new bullish signal for it. So it should keep on going further, and having made that break of the high, the January high, it's now consolidating that and having a leg of bullishness which should last for a while longer, and there are close protective stops, which is great. A quick look at the currencies. Here's the RRG of the currency. Here's the dollar right over here, so it being to the right of everything else means it's strong. And major casualties here has been a turnaround in the US dollar, the pound and the Japanese yen, and so there's a major breakdown here and here, which I want to have a look at now. So we've broken these two important lows that have given the bulls some hope around 107.25 area, but that's been cleared now. The MACD has moved down and the gap is widening here. We've got resistance, strong resistance from 107.25 to 107.35, and we need to break this high of 108.87 in order to take the pressure off. It is down now for the euro, and with a lot of resistance above to protect any shorts. The RSI pointing down very purposely and sharply downwards, so we've got new period of momentum on the downside. Yes, we've got some support here. I don't think it's going to plunge. I think the initial plunge is from the break of that 107.25 level, but then it's going to find some support around 105.50 area there. But it does look as though it's going down now more seriously on the downside. I know it's been going down for a while, but there's a break point which could bring in a new impetus of selling. Now the dollar yen, having broken the October 22 high, which we had faltered at in November 23, consolidated at during March of 24, and then decisively broken. So here is the decisively broken, and it was decisive, powered up strongly when it went through the 152 level. The dollar went 152, nearly crossed on the MACD during this consolidation period here, but now the MACD is up, positive with gap widening here, and the RSI also strong. A little slight loss of momentum in the last couple of days, but what you have got is a lot of support at 152. Really very substantial support. Dollar bull, particularly against the yen, where it's making multi-year highs versus the yen. I've seen the Brent crude oil here as a ascending triangle. This was the breakout point of it. This should infer a big move up from there, about the height of the triangle. So that's from 70 up to $84. So that's $11 up from the break point. 84 plus 11 is 95 up here. Also that we did get a Fibonacci projection A, B, C, and that was exactly 100% of that. So finding some resistance there is to be expected. But how is it behaving inside the consolidation at that 100% point through the break of 88? We can expect support at 88. I think that the MACD here is positive but is narrowing up but holding up still positively, and the RSI here has come down. And finally, gold, which we've been very bullish of, but it's looking a bit overextended now and losing momentum, and so I think there's a bit of a warning coming here. So we have obviously shot up very strongly, almost getting to strong, interesting, consistent support here just at 2,300. It should be supported at 2,217, but I think the chances of it getting back into that sort of area is increasing now. The Bollinger Band's definitely still positive, and the gap is not yet narrowing, and so it's not that moment yet. But on the RSI, we have got a bearish divergence: high, higher high, lower high. So let me just draw that in for posterity here. And now breaking up of that would negate this idea of bearish divergence, but this is slowing up in the rate of climb. Doesn't mean the bull market is over, I don't think so, but I think it's overextended and about to correct. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. I hope you find today's session useful. Very interesting markets as always. I wish you the very best. And from me, Trevor Neil, analyst at RRG Research, I wish you all the very best, and may the trend be with you. Goodbye.